You're scrolling Instagram and there it is again. Another friend in front of a house. Keys in hand, caption says something like, finally adulting, or dreams do come true. And you feel it, that quiet sting. It's not jealousy exactly, it's more like you're falling behind. You've been doing everything right, saving, working, cutting back on the things you're supposed to cut back on. But that house still feels impossible. Or worse, it feels possible but wrong. Like you'd have to stretch so far that one bad month would just snap everything. Here's the thing nobody's saying out loud. Homeownership has become this finish line in our heads. Like once you buy, you've made it. You're stable, you're an adult, you won. But look, something doesn't add up. If buying a house is supposed to solve financial anxiety, why are so many homeowners still stressed, still worried about layoffs, still trying to figure out retirement, still one furnace replacement away from panic? Let me walk you through what's actually happening, because there's an illusion baked into how we talk about homeownership, and it's costing people clarity.
Okay, first, what buying a house actually requires right now. Say you're looking at a $400,000 home. That's not luxury, that's median in a lot of mid-tier cities. 10% down is $40,000. Add closing costs, moving, maybe some repairs right away, call it $50,000 total to get in the door. Here's where the illusion starts. When someone buys that house at 28, at 31, we assume they saved $50,000 on their own. But a lot of that came from somewhere else. Maybe it was a gift from parents, maybe an inheritance that came early. Maybe they split costs with a partner who had family help. Maybe they sold stock options from a job they lucked into. None of that is bad, but it's invisible. The Instagram post doesn't say, my parents gave us $30,000 and we saved the rest. It just says, new homeowner. And if you didn't get that help, you're sitting there thinking you're behind. But you're not behind. You're just playing a different game with different resources. Here's the second part. Even if someone did save that $50,000 themselves, what did they give up? Some people save aggressively because they moved back in with family for 2 years. Some took a higher paying job in a city they hate. Some are in a dual income household where both people are grinding and neither has time to think about whether they're actually happy. None of that is wrong, but it's context. And context is the difference between I'm failing and I'm on a different timeline.
Okay, now let's talk about what happens after you buy. You've got the house, you've got the mortgage. For the first time in a while, you're supposed to feel stable. Except now you're responsible for everything. The roof, the water heater, the foundation, that HVAC system you didn't know existed until it stopped working in July. Renting had a ceiling on your exposure. Something breaks, you call the landlord. Ownership. Ownership has no ceiling. You could get hit with $8,000 in repairs next month, and there's no one to call. Yeah, you're building equity, but equity doesn't pay for the new roof. Equity is this abstract future thing. The present is very concrete and very expensive. So the anxiety doesn't go away, it just changes shape. Before, you were anxious about saving enough. Now you're anxious about protecting what you have. And if your income isn't rock solid, if you're in a volatile industry, if you're self-employed, if you're worried about your job, that anxiety can actually get worse. Because now you can't just move, you're locked in. You've got a mortgage, you've got closing costs to recoup, you've got a market to time. Flexibility costs you 6 figures.
Here's what I want you to understand. Homeownership isn't a scam. It's not a bad decision. For a lot of people, it works, builds wealth, creates stability over time, but it's not a cure for financial stress. It's a trade-off. You're trading flexibility for equity, liquidity for leverage, the anxiety of will I ever get there for the anxiety of can I hold on to this? And the biggest lie we've absorbed, that one of those is noble and the other is failure. That's not true. They're just different. If you're renting right now and you feel behind, you might actually be in a stronger position than you think. If you've been saving, if you're debt-free or close to it, if you've got an emergency fund, if you're investing for retirement, You're not behind, you're liquid. And liquidity is power. It's the ability to move, to take a risk, to weather a storm without losing your house. That's not failure, that's optionality.
Look, I'm not telling you not to buy a house. If it makes sense for your life, your city, your career, your family, do it. But do it because the trade-offs work for you, not because you think it's the only way to be a real adult. Because here's the uncomfortable truth nobody wants to say. A lot of people buy houses because they feel like they're supposed to, and then they spend the next 10 years trying to afford the life they had before they bought it. The finish line isn't homeownership. The finish line is having enough money to make decisions based on what you actually want, not what you think you're supposed to want. Maybe that's a house, maybe it's not. Maybe it's a house in 5 years after you've traveled or switched careers or figured out where you actually want to live. The point is, you get to decide, and deciding to wait isn't the same as falling behind. So next time you see someone post those keys, be happy for them if you want, but don't let it trick you into thinking they've solved something you haven't. They made a choice, you're making a different one, and both of those can be right at the same time.